what's going on right now in the Strait of Hormuz in the West Asia. Moments ago, we've learned from the Iranian IRGC there is a new statement by the IRGC basically saying that they have completely closed the Strait of Hormuz. Here is what they said in that statement. In a previous announcement, we stated that foreign interference and the illegal designation of a shipping lane in the Strait of Hormuz near the Oman would elicit a firm response from us and would prevent any increase in traffic through the strait. Hours ago, these warnings were once again ignored. Yeah, instigated by foreign powers. They're talking about the United States foreign powers. Several vessels attempt to deviate from the Iranian designated route, disregarding our repeated warning and alerts to correct their course and remain within the approved route. Consequently, yeah, consequently, one of these vessels which had switched off its transponders, thereby endangering maritime security, was fired upon and shipped and stopped by IRGC Navy. So this is following this incident, firstly, due to security breach resulting from illegal foreign interference, the Strait of Hormuz will be temporarily closed until further notice, and until the United States sees its interference in this region. No vessel will be permitted to pass through. Secondly, should the aggressor exploiting the incident commit any further yeah, aggression, we shall respond forcefully, and additional enemy bases in the region will be targeted. As we talk right now, basically the United States is attacking Iran in the southern part. And it seems that they started with HIMARS, and the HIMARS are located in Bahrain. Here is the map. And one of the main targets, here is you see Bahrain here, and the first target was this Bandar Dayer, which is located just to see where this is the Strait of Hormuz. This is the Strait of Hormuz here, and they hit the target here. They used the HIMARS in Bahrain to hit the target. There is a footage that came out moments ago about firing, and they're using the HIMARS in Bahrain. So the other point that, as IRGC mentioned, they hit one of the vessels. It seems that it was serious. The damage was serious to this vessel, which was trying to use the alternative route. What's so amazing, because today we had the Iranian foreign minister going to Oman, talking with the Omani government about this strait. And just moments ago, we've learned that the Iranian special forces are currently deploying mines, in the Omani designated shipping lane. So they're mining the Omani side of the Strait of Hormuz in order to avoid any sort of vessels or ships to use that route, and just to force them, all of them, to use the routes designated by IRGC. This is the situation right now, and the strait is fully closed. And they said the United States is not abiding by the MOU. All those, 14 points or 14 paragraphs of the MOU. So I told last time I was reporting on what's going on between Iran and the United States and Iranian response to the American attack, I told you that Iran is preparing to respond, but because they had the funeral of the late supreme leader of Iran, the funeral procession. It was in Iran, then went to Iraq, and then getting back. So they were preparing all of this to respond to the United States before the funeral or during the funeral. So the funeral is over. And you see Iranians are responding to what the United States tried to do during the funeral and before the funeral. From what I've heard so far, they're prepared. All the air defense systems basically in the southern part of Iran and in Khuzestan and in Bushehr, they are activated right now. There's some reports in as in Bushehr and Asaluye, which is again in the northern part of the Strait of Hormuz, or in the western part of the Strait of Hormuz, close to the Bandar Dayer, the same location that I show here. Let me bring the map here, and this is Bushehr, and even you see this is Bahrain, this is the Strait of Hormuz here, and you go up here, you see Bushehr and Asaluye. So the attacks are happening, some of the attacks were happening here. Let me bring the, yeah, the targets, as I'm trying to just follow the targets from the United States. It seems they're using the fighter jets are right now hitting some targets. The US fighters are hitting some targets in Iran. There were some reports, let me just check here, in, yeah, the air defense systems in Khuzestan and in Bandar Abbas. Bandar Abbas is in the southern, close to the right side of the Strait of Hormuz. Bandar Abbas, the air defense systems are activated there as well. So yeah, the Nuba report says that these attacks are coming basically from those HIMARS in Bahrain and Kuwait. So the United States is using Bahrain and Kuwait to hit Iran because they were not prepared. They didn't know. It was, the announcement came just moments ago. It was 30, 40 minutes ago. They announced that they're going to close totally, completely the Strait of Hormuz and mining the part on the part of the Omanis. So the United States was not somehow, I don't know, they were not prepared about that, or they don't have the fighter jets, or there some sort of reports that they're hitting some targets in Iran, but not that much of attacks, 20, 30 fighter jets getting close to the Iranian borders and heading to targets in the southern part. And it seems that they're basically using the bases in Bahrain and Kuwait to hit the targets in Iran, as it's happening right now. I'm looking for new footages, if there some new footages of the southern part of Iran. But the whole concept of the war and what's going on right now, it seems that if they're going to get there, they're going to use the fighter jets in Jordan. I don't know if they're going to use the refueling tankers. We don't know how many of those refueling tankers are located in Saudi Arabia or maybe in Qatar. Last time they attacked Iran, they used the refueling tankers in Qatar, which was, as in, Iran responded to this sort of, move on the part of the Qatari government, because they somehow, when you refueling the fighter jets, you're part of the war. So Iran tried, somehow tried to hit some targets in Qatar as some sort of warning to the government in Qatar. I don't know tonight what would be the situation. So far, we haven't heard about the fighter jets attacking the way that it was during the last 2 or 3 times that the United States attacked Iran. So far, it's all about HIMARS and their bases in the region. And right now we have, Central Command of the United States, the new announcement. It says that at 7:15, a quarter past 7 p.m. Eastern time today, the United States Central Command forces began launching the third round of strikes this week against Iran after Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps forces blatantly attacked, M/V GFS Galaxy. This is the vessel, a Cyprus flag container ship transiting the Strait of Hormuz. A civilian crew member is missing, and the vessel is unable to continue the journey due to onboard fire and significant, engine room damage. Iran was provided yet another opportunity to demonstrate adherence to the memorandum of understanding after being held accountable for earlier attacks on commercial vessels, but has again failed. In response, the United States is imposing a heavy cost by continuing to degrade Iran's ability to attack civilian, mariners and commercial ships freely transiting the strait. The strikes, yeah, yeah, the whole they're basically talking about what's going on with the case of in my opinion the war it has just started. They're attacking each other. Iran is preparing. Today I have learned from the Iranian side that they were preparing in the last 2 days. Everybody, all the borders of Iran, they send a lot of forces to the western northwest of Iran with the Iraqi border to control that. In the southern part of Iran, with the border close to the Baluchistan in Iran, close to the Pakistani border, there are a lot of ground forces there to keep the situation, secure and just to avoid any sort of incursion from the other side on the border. Then all the air defense systems are basically activated or they're prepared to be activated. In the western part, in the southern part, we've heard today they were trying to shoot something today during the day. There were some explosions in Iran, and we thought that the United States is attacking Iran. Later on, we've learned that no, this is basically they're trying to test their air defense system to calibrate, or I don't know, something of that sort. Then tonight is, as I said, the attacks are happening. So far, no reports of one. We had just one report of the fighter jets hitting some targets in Iran, and so far, no attack on the part of the fighter jets. So this is the situation right now between Iran and the United States. The whole point on the part of Iranian is that the MOU was not respected by the United States from the clause number 1 to number 14. The only after I assume many of you know what is in the clause number 1 because I repeated multiple times here what is the importance of that clause. It's all about Lebanon. It's all about the Israeli behavior in Lebanon and withdrawing totally from Lebanon. That was violated the day after signing the MOU between the two sides, the United States and Iran. The only positive point about the MOU, it was the sanctions on Iranian oil sector or energy sector, because it was not just only oil and gas, it was about the petrochemical products, as they call it in the MOU, derivatives. So that was part of the MOU. That was on Tuesday, the United States decided to put the sanctions back again on Iranian oil, and gas and petrochemical products. So that part is gone, and that is the article or the paragraph 9 of the MOU. That's not happening. The sanctions are not happening. The war is getting back. Donald Trump, every time he comes out, he's threatening Iranians and say, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you harder. I'm going to hit you. And he says there's some people in the United States, they were trying, maybe Israeli intelligence tried to convince him that Iranians are gonna, when he was in Istanbul, they were talking about that Iran is preparing to assassinate Donald Trump. And the whole case is so ridiculous. I don't see why does Iran need to assassinate Donald Trump. There is no need for that, and this is not the behavior. I don't recognize this sort of behavior. I don't see Iranian behaving this way. They don't need that. And there is no strategic gain out of assassination of people. And this is the attitude. This is not the attitude of the Iranian government. Even with the war, when the war started, what was the Iranian response after the assassination of the supreme leader of Iran, which is so important? You've seen what has happened during the funeral. It shows how important the supreme leader was for the Iranian people. And millions, more than 40 plus million people came on the streets to, for his funeral procession. It shows the importance of his position in Iran and his character in Iran. But they didn't respond. Even with that attack, the assassination of the supreme leader, they didn't attack civilians in Israel or any of these GCC countries. During the war, 40 days of war, it was sometimes the casualties in GCC countries was something like 20, 22 people were somehow injured or killed. It was because of the blast, because of those attacks, on the American bases. That was all. I'm talking about civilians. I don't know, because when it comes to the casualties on the part of military casualties or troops or soldiers in GCC countries, the US soldiers, there are various reports in Iran on the Iranian media that says there are a lot, more than 500 or 1,500 people were somehow injured or wounded. So this is the Iranian part. On the part of the United States, it's something like 15 troops were killed. We don't know about the injured, and there is no report mentioning the numbers of those people, those troops who were injured. This is the reality. When it comes to the Israel, you see Iran has never attacked, civilians in Israel. They attack. The latest attacks in Israel, if you remember, was the Dimona. They attacked Dimona to show the power of how the Iranian missiles or how they can penetrate the Israeli air defense system. That was the final stage of the war before the ceasefire being announced by the United States. I think that was one of the main issues for the United States, to get the warning that Iran is capable to hit Dimona. And whenever they decide to do that, they're going to hit it. That was the main. It's not just about the United States and Israel being capable of using, the fighter jets going in Iran and attacking Fordo and other, nuclear facilities in Iran. But Iran is capable to hit back. The difference is that all the facilities, Israeli facilities, nuclear facilities, are above the ground surface. But all the Iranian facilities, even missiles, drones, nuclear program, it's all underground. Underground, it means that it's so difficult for the United States to bomb them, to destroy them. So we are witnessing, I don't know what is the situation in the Ben Gurion air base, because last time we've seen a lot of American fighter jets, refuelers there, being parked there and, without any sort of shelter. So if that's the case, that's a huge sort of fragility on the part of the United States. If things get worse, Iran can hit those targets in the Ben Gurion. So this is the situation right now. And my understanding is Iran sees no reason to continue with the MOU because has gained nothing. Today, the U.S. Treasury Secretary said that they're not going to release the Iranian frozen asset, which they have agreed on. And it was all about the Qatari government. You remember Iran went to Qatar 2 times. The Iranian delegation went to Qatar all together. The head of Iranian parliament, the foreign minister of Iran, and the head of Iranian central bank. They went to Qatar to find this solution, or to find the way that they're going to get the frozen assets. It seems that the United States is manipulating the whole mechanism of receiving those frozen assets. As today, the U.S. Treasury Secretary said, we're not going to let them to get those frozen assets. And before, they have to behave. If they behave badly in the Strait of Hormuz, we're not going to let that happen. So basically, Iran is gaining nothing out of the MOU. Not Iran, but also Lebanon, because Lebanon was a very important part of that agreement. That's why they put it in the first clause. It shows the importance of Lebanon. And we know what has happened after that, as I've just mentioned. So the fighting is going on. Today, we had some reports from the southern part of Lebanon that they're attacking civilians, they're attacking the villages in the southern part of Lebanon. The Israeli forces are using drones and fighter jets to attack these cities and villages in the southern part of Lebanon.